digital era we live in right now has brought to us so many technological advances. Just have a look around yourself. The rise and development of the so-called AI, artificial intelligence, has made many, on one hand, enthusiastic, but on the other, preoccupied. Is AI any danger to language learning? Will learning languages become obsolete soon? These are the topics on which we're going to try to brainstorm in this video. Let's begin. Just some 30 or even 20 years ago, the majority of us didn't even have a proper internet connection. Can you believe that? Now it is practically unimaginable, but back then, for example, in my childhood, I was totally fine playing with my dolls and paying absolutely no attention whether I had internet on my mobile phone and if I had a mobile phone at all or not. When I was learning French in primary school, I vividly remember how I used my paper dictionary to translate texts from and into French. Now it looks quite surreal, doesn't it? With the rise of different online translators, language learning apps, chats, GPT and the like, now we can say for sure language learning, as other spheres of our life, has come into a new era. We are now able to translate the whole page of text in a foreign language in a matter of seconds. Take a picture of it and here you have your translation. You're traveling abroad and need to make an order in a restaurant. You use your online translator and a waiter, if it's not a robot yet, perfectly understands what you'd like to get. You want to practice speaking or writing skills in your target language, or else check up your grammar mistakes. No need to look up for someone who you can do it with, because such a thing as a ChatGPT is able to do all that for you in a couple of seconds. AI is conquering the world, so there may arise a question and concern: will it ever be able to replace traditional, as we know it, language learning? There are many claiming and saying that yes, in say 50 or 60 years from now, we won't have the actual necessity to study any languages because we'll have all the options needed on our mobile phones. Moreover, such jobs as a translator and an interpreter won't even exist anymore. All those concerns are actually perfectly justified. Artificial intelligence has been showing us its amazing ability to serve as a great tool for science. One of the most breathtaking examples here will be how AI is being used to decipher and decode ancient texts. Now it has a name of AI archaeology, a growing field of neural networks that are used to reveal secrets written once on the ancient tablets in already almost forgotten languages, though it's only one small part of the scientific field. I'm sure you'll agree that such a fascinating novelty can serve us as a further beginning to understanding and deciphering in the first place many texts written in ancient Greek, for example. If you'd like to have a look at one of such networks which works exactly in the AI archaeology, then here it is, Ithaka, the first deep neural network for the textual restoration, geographical and chronological attribution of ancient Greek inscriptions, as it is presented on its official website. Notably, Ithaka is told to be able to reach 62% accuracy when restoring damaged texts. Looks astonishing at first glance, right? However, such AI systems and networks still have a lot of challenges that they have to go through. Many ancient texts have been badly damaged throughout years and centuries, which makes it even harder to translate and decode. Therefore, we cannot be 100% sure that that machine is giving us the appropriate and accurate translation. Nevertheless, it is obvious that AI will continue developing, and future advancements in technology may add radical changes into linguistic history and linguistics itself. Looking at all this could create the impression that it really is possible that traditional language learning may soon, maybe very soon, die out. Our society is changing so fast. If we have a look at our society of nowadays and the society of, say, 50 or 60 years ago, compare our values, we will see how different these societies are. One of the observations will be how less people began to communicate with each other. A large presence of technology in our life, in many aspects, is to blame. Therefore, another question arises. Will we need communication at all? Communicating with someone whose native language is different from ours, in principle, won't be difficult. It will be even much easier than it is now. Just turn on your online translator and talk. It is something that we are already successfully mastering, even though sometimes it allows itself to make some errors and inaccuracies. Online translators will be becoming more and more reliable, though, if we are still going to need communication at all. Of course, I don't want to think in a pessimistic way, I still want to believe that there will be no Brave New World once created by Huxley, Well, at least in our lifetime. If you'd like to know my personal opinion, please don't judge if it seems to you quite old-fashioned, but I don't really believe that language learning will die out. Again, at least during our lifetime. First of all, let's remind ourselves that a language is much more than just a banal translation. If you are able to somehow communicate with someone via an online translator, it's great. If you're traveling abroad and if it's your first and probably last time in that country, you need to use that online translator to survive, to put it bluntly. But if it's someone who plays an important role in your life, then you just have to learn their native language, in my view. Like Nelson Mandela once said, if you speak to a man in the language he understands, it goes to his head. If you speak to him his language, it goes to his heart. I haven't seen a more profound quote relating to language learning than this yet. Yes, we do live in a technological era, but it doesn't mean we have to forget about our human nature, if you want, and stop caring one for another. Learning a language is also showing respect to that person, its native speaker. It's not only about something sentimental, though, when we say that language learning is not just a mere translation. Translation here is just like the tip of the iceberg. Every language, as I always say, is like a little world on its own. Learning a foreign language makes you learn not only its grammar, but also huge layers of its culture, history, traditions, etc. If we stop learning foreign languages and let AI systems take care of it, we're going to lose a lot. If we go even a bit more profound into this topic, let's also remember that the role of language dialects is just huge. Moreover, there are many, I guess in every language, words that have double meanings. There are many synonymous words that are still quite different from one another. In my family, for example, it happens very often, since my husband and I have different native languages. Sometimes when I want to ask him some specific word in Spanish, he usually replies, "What exactly do you want to say?" Or else when he wants to translate some specific word in Russian, I always go What's the context? As I imagine it will be as it is now, it's difficult to put all those intricacies of a language into one machine or system, let alone our intonation and all that stuff that can't even be translated. We humans are sometimes able to communicate or reply with just a certain expression on our face, or else some specific figures of speech, which we have a lot. How will a machine know what exactly I'm trying to say? How will it guess the right meaning? In this, AI is, of course, advancing a lot, but there are still many challenges. So this way, we see obvious advantages and reasons to learn languages by ourselves. I'd still like to come back just for some minutes to the topic of translation, since this field is developing a lot. Online translators now are showing us their great abilities to translate texts, whether it is a document, literary work, or even poetry. There are examples of how AI intends to compose its own poetry. There's even the poem generator, for example, which copes with its task very well. However, the quality of this online translation in some cases leaves much to be desired, particularly in the world of literature. We know that translating books requires not only the right translation, but also a lot of fantasy and imagination. And to be honest, I hope that it will continue this way for some time more. So we still have something to think about, to give ourselves a chance to compose our own poetry and let our imagination come up with new ideas. Before we close up this topic, let's also remember about something very important: time. Another thing that a lot of people nowadays seem to be addicted to, let's say, and care too much about. How to read faster, how to study more in less time, why to learn languages if it's so time-consuming. I have this perfect online translator that translates everything. These are the examples of how many of us now are trying to save as much time as possible. But save for what? That's another question though. But if we go on like this, I guess our life will start looking pretty similar to the film In Time, in which time now means money literally. The more we save up, the better. Yes, it does consume a lot of time to learn and master a foreign language, but is it bad? Do you think that your daily scrolling on your phone consumes less? No. It's for you to decide which time-consuming thing you're going to choose. If we leave the ability of speaking foreign languages to AI, we will lose a lot. Artificial intelligence may reduce the number of people learning languages, but there will always be people learning. Well, I will be one of them as long as I am here. Even if one day it becomes old-fashioned for some, though training your brain and memory, which language learning can help us out amazingly, will hopefully never become old-fashioned and unnecessary. Thank you for being here with me today. If you found this video worth your time, you probably already know what I'm gonna ask you to do. Thank you again, and see you in the next one.